Brothers and sisters, hello and welcome to Readings with Regina. And I am especially thrilled today because my new book is out on Amazon. My new book is out. Oh, I am so happy. But let me just say this. Let me give a big shout out to all of my subscribers. Thank you. Thank you for hanging with me. Yes. And those of you who are watching me, listening to me, please remember to hit the like button. That's supposed to mean something about the algorithm in YouTube. So do hit that like button. But let me get back to my book. Oh, my book is selling on Amazon today. And let me show you the cover because I love the color. It is called In Back of God's Eye. That's the front cover. And in the back cover says South Philly, 1987. Yes, I write about a group of teenagers, 1987. I want y'all to know about it. So do get my book and write a review of it. Yes, do write a review of my book on Amazon. Okay? That is very important. Now, let me get to the work at hand. This episode is called During Slavery and Supposed Freedom, How Do Black Girls Learn Their World? We're going to start off with Linda Brent, Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl. We know that Linda got pregnant by a white gentleman, right? Really, because the black gentleman who wanted to marry her, first of all, he had to buy her to marry her. And Dr. Flint, who was Linda Brent's master, refused the brother. That is very key for you to understand. He refused the money from the brother who was a carpenter during slavery, and he wanted to marry Linda Brent. Linda, in revenge, hooked up with this white guy who, wanted to get with her as well. Now she's pregnant. Oh, Dr. Flint, the pedophile who was building her a house in the woods so that he could really rape her, away from his wife. Linda got her revenge by getting pregnant. So we're going to pick it up where I left off last time we were together. I went to my grandmother. This is Linda. My lips moved to make confession, but the words stuck in my throat. I sat down in the shade of a tree at her door and began to sew. I think she saw something unusual was the matter with me. The mother of slaves is very watchful. She knows there is no security for her children. After they have entered their teens, she lives in daily expectation of trouble. This leads to many questions. If the girl is of a sensitive nature, timidity keeps her from answering truthfully, and this well meant course has a tendency to drive her from maternal counsels. Presently, in came my mistress, that's Dr. Flint's wife, like a mad woman, and accused me concerning her husband. The wife assumes that her husband had, raped her. And she gonna blame Linda, not the husband, not the white dude, not the enslaver of Linda. My grandmother, whose suspicions had been previously awakened, believed what she said. She exclaimed, "Oh, Linda, has it come to this? I had rather see you dead than to see you as you are now. You are a disgrace to your dead mother." She tore from my fingers my mother's wedding ring and her silver thimble. "Go away," she exclaimed, "and never come to my house again." Now, this is Linda's grandmother, and she's going to blame Linda for being pregnant. Linda, who was owned by Dr. Flint. But nevertheless, The grandmother blames Linda. That's how much virginity meant, even for girls during the enslavement period. Let me continue. Her reproaches fell so hot and heavy that they left me no chance to answer. Bitter tears, such as the eyes never shed but once, were my only answer. I rose from my seat but fell back again, sobbing. She did not speak to me, but the tears were running down her furrowed cheeks, and they scorched me like fire. She had always been so kind to me, so kind. How I longed to throw myself at her feet and tell her all the truth. But she had ordered me to go and never to come there again. After a few minutes, I mustered strength and started to obey her. With what feelings did I know now close that little gate, which I used to open with such an eager hand in my childhood? It closed upon me with a sound I had never heard before. Where could I go? I was afraid to return to my masters. I walked on recklessly, not caring where I went or what would become of me. When I had gone 4 or 5 miles, fatigue compelled me to stop. I sat down on the stump of an old tree. The stars were shining through the boughs above me. Not boughs, boughs above me. How they mocked me with their bright, calm light. The hours passed by, and as I sat there alone, a chilliness and deadly sickness came over me. I sank on the ground. My mind was full of horrid thoughts. I prayed to die, but the prayer was not answered. At last, with great effort, I roused myself and walked some distance further to the house of a woman who had been a friend of my mother. When I told her why I was there, she spoke soothingly to me, but I could not be comforted. I thought I could bear the shame if I could only be reconciled to my grandmother. I longed to open my heart to her. I thought if she could know the real state of the case and all I had been bearing for years, she would perhaps judge me less harshly. My friend advised me to send for her. I did so. But days of agonizing suspense passed before my grandmother came. Had she utterly forsaken me? No. She came at last. I knelt before her and told her the things that had poisoned my life, how long I had been persecuted, that I saw no way of escape, and in an hour of extremity, I had become desperate. She listened in silence. I told her I would bear anything and do anything if in time I had hopes of obtaining her forgiveness. I begged of her to pity me for my dead mother's sake, and she did pity me. She did not say, I forgive you, but she looked at me lovingly. With her eyes full of tears, she laid her old hand gently on my head and murmured, Poor child, poor child, poor child. Thank goodness the grandmother decided to really listen to Linda. Linda is 15 years old. I just want to remind you of that. Linda is 15 years old, and the enslaver, pedophile, pig, Dr. Flint, has been harassing this baby girl since she was 12. So keep that in mind. Okay, the next book we're going to go to is, of course, Ida B. Wells, one of my heroes. And let me just say this. Let me remind you of this again. Ida B. Wells and Assata Shakur were born on the same day. Talk to me. Ida B. Wells and Assata Shakur were born on the same day, just different years, okay? And keep in mind what the title of this episode is, During Slavery and Supposed Freedom, because Ida B. Wells is born during supposed freedom. How do Black girls learn their world? And let me say this to you too before I begin reading. Ida B. Wells and Linda Brent are the same age. They are 15 years old. They are teenage young girls. Okay, here we go again with Ida B. Wells, one of my heroes. And this is chapter 3. I had already secured my appointment as a teacher in Memphis. She's 15. 15! And she's a teacher. Before the railroad case was finally settled. So I had my salary to fall back on to help pay the costs against me. None of my people had ever seemed to feel that it was a race matter and that they should help me with the fight. Now see, that's rather telling, and it's rather shameful. She fought, she sued legally the railroad company that threw her off the train because she refused to take a lesser seat. She had paid for a full price seat, but because she was black, they wanted her to go to the smoker's car. She refused. She physically fought the conductor. Then she sued the railroad. Now she's saying that people didn't think it was really a race matter. It's always a race matter when it comes to black people, then and now. Here we go. So I trode the wine press alone. I had always been a voracious reader. I had always been a voracious reader. This is what she said. She always has been a voracious reader. Listen, people, listen to your ancestors. I had read all the fiction in the Sunday school library and in Russ College. In the country schools where I had taught many times, there was no oil for lamps and there were no candles to spare. My only diversion was reading. And I could forget my troubles in no other way. I used to sit before the blazing fire with a book in my lap during the long winter evenings and read by firelight. I had formed my ideals on the best of Dickens' stories. That's Charles Dickens. Yeah, I had to read him in grad school. Louisa May Alcott. Oh, Little Women. They even made a movie out of that. They made a movie out of Dickens too. Tale of Two Cities and other stuff. A.D.T. Whitney's and Charlotte Bronte's books. Wuthering Heights, y'all. Wuthering Heights. In any event, and Oliver Optic's stories for boys. So there were stories for boys. There were stories for boys. Like there were stories for girls. I had read the Bible and Shakespeare. I had to read Shakespeare. I didn't really want to read Shakespeare, but I'm glad that I did. I mean, you have to read these people as you go through school, college, and university. But I'm glad I did. You know why? Because many movies are based upon Shakespeare's works. Many different movies. You dig? All right, here we go. But I had never read a Negro book or anything about Negroes. Yes. Yes. In Memphis, I first heard of the AME Church and saw a Negro bishop, Bishop Turner. I worshiped in the first big, fine church I had ever seen and watched the crowds, and I wondered why the preachers did not give the people practical talks. I had already found out in the country that the people needed guidance in everyday life, and that the leaders, the preachers, were not giving them this help. They would come to me with their problems because I, as their teacher, should have been their leader, but I knew nothing of life. She's 15, except what I had read. How did she know life? She knew life through the books that she read, and they were white books. She never read a book by Negro. That's by design. The bishops I had known were scholarly, saintly men in the Methodist Episcopal Church, and most of the pastors we had were the same. All my teachers had been consecrated, white men and women from the North who came into the South to teach immediately after the end of the war. She's talking about the Civil War. It was they who brought us the light of knowledge and their splendid example of Christian courage. As a green girl in my teens, I was no help to the people outside of the schoolroom, and at first, I fear, I was very little aid in it, since I had had no normal training. The only work I did outside of my schoolroom, besides hard study to keep up with the work, was to teach in Sunday school. I had read the Bible through before I left Holly Springs. Indeed, I could read nothing else on Sunday afternoons at home because my parents would not permit it. My parents were parents. Raise your children. Do not let the TV and the movies and popular culture, I'm talking contemporary stuff now, don't let that raise your children. You got children? Be a parent. Set limits. In Memphis, after becoming a teacher, I joined a lyceum composed mainly of teachers of the public schools. We met every Friday afternoon in the Vance Street Christian Church. The literary exercises, you hear this? Listen very carefully, y'all. The literary exercises consisted of recitations, essays, and debates interspersed with music. It was a breath of life to me, for this program was like the Friday afternoon oratoricals in school. The exercises always closed with the reading of the Evening Star, a spicy journal prepared and read by the editor. There were news items, literary notes, criticisms of previous offerings on the program, a quote, they say, end of quote, column of pleasant personalities, and always some choice poetry. Always some choice poetry. There were essay writings. There were debates that the people went through. Now remember, she's a teenager. This is what they did during this time period, during the 19th century. Now, who's this? Bring this up. Hi, trees like flowers. Okay, you must be a newbie. Very good. Hello and welcome. All right, love that. Go check. People, have a book club in your family. Read poetry. I write poetry. Get my books. Now, my book, my new book, In Back of God's Eye, that's fiction. It is my first attempt to write a novel, and it's published. I am thrilled, and it is a bad, really. The book is a monster. Now, though, let me go to, where am I? Assata, Assata, Assata. Now, as I read Assata, I want you all to keep in mind the title of this episode, During Slavery and Supposed Freedom. Supposed freedom. How do black girls learn their world? All right. How does Assata learn her world? Here we go. Now remember, she's being raised by her grandparents. Very important. This is little Assata. She says, I love to eat, still do. And the beach was right up my alley. Right now, when I think of the fried chicken and fish dinners, my mouth starts to water. But what really sends me off is remembering those seafood platters with fish, shrimps, oysters, devil crab, clam fritters, and french fries with lettuce and tomatoes on the side. If my memory is any good, I think they sold for $1.50. Next to food, music was my love. Now she's a little girl now. Fats Domino, Yo, Nat King Cole, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, The Platters, Brooke Benton, Bobby Blue Bland, James Brown. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm brown. Yo, that came later because she's a little girl now. But I love James Brown. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm brown. Oh, that kind of music inspired the 60s. Yes. All right. Dinah Washington, Maxine Brown, Big Maybelle, was some of the people I listened to during those beach years. I loved to dance. They would play that music and I would dance my natural heart out. Yes, dance. There were some people in Africa that danced their religion. You dig? Dance ain't just, you go, boom. Dance can be and has been spiritual. I'll get more on that another time, another book. They would play that music and I would dance my natural heart out. That was another way I collected tips. People would egg me on, go on, girl. Boy, look at that little girl dance. But I love to see people dance too. Many a time my grandmother or grandfather had to call me out of the trance I was in, watching somebody dance instead of doing my chores. She had chores. She's about 5 years old. Girl had chores. At night, my cousins, who sometimes came over to work on the beach, told ghost stories. They loved to tell them to me because I would get scared out of my wits. They would tell me about people who came back from the dead, about snakes that could crawl 100 miles an hour and beat you to death with their tails, and about red phantoms and haints and all kinds of other horrible things. My imagination was vivid, and before the night was over, the seagrass turned to monsters and the wind made ghost howls. Sometimes even my grandmother and grandfather would get into the ghost story sessions. My grandfather's favorite one goes like this. He was driving home in a terrible storm one night. It was lightning and thundering like crazy. He saw lightning hit a tree ahead of him and saw the tree fall across the road. He tried to stop, but it was too late. He braced himself to hit the tree, but nothing happened. The car went smoothly through it as if it weren't there. He turned around, and sure enough, the tree was still lying across the road. He swears that the story is true, and I'm convinced that he thoroughly believes it is. I believe that it is, and I'm going to tell you all the story after I read this. We were, however, visited by real live ghosts. They were the phantoms of the parking lot. It seems that the white citizens, now you know it, a successful black business, many of the hangings and lynchings during slavery and after slavery, well, not during slavery, after slavery, was because of black prosperous businesses. Okay? White people would lynch you. Yes. All right, here we go. They were the phantoms of the parking lot. It seems that the white citizens of Wilmington and Carolina Beach were not at all happy that my grandparents had dared to build on the land and to start a colored business. We were too close for their comfort, so they would visit us from time to time to express their disapproval. I don't know for a fact that they were card-carrying members of the Ku Klux Klan, but judging from their behavior, I think they were. But then, of course, they weren't wearing their sheets. They could have just been red-blooded American boys out for some good, clean fun. The parking lot was made of dirt, and cars spinning around on it at breakneck speed would ruin it in no time. 2 or 3 of them would ride around the parking lot spinning and skidding and spinning and skidding while they shouted curses and racist insults. One time, they fired guns in the air. I remember seeing them and hearing them out there and wondering what they were going to do next. More than once, I saw my grandfather go to where he kept his gun power and carry it quietly to where he had been sitting. Somehow, this made me more afraid because I knew that he too thought they were scary. Finally, my grandfather put a big fat chain across, almost as big as the kind used to anchor ships, across the road at the entrance to the parking lot. That soon eliminated our nightly visitors. Now I'm gonna stop right there. You know, look, check it, check it. A grandfather got his gun. Now, I am not a violent person. I really abhor violence, but self-defense, yo, you have a right to self-defense. In fact, one of my subscribers, a pistol report, you ought to look at his videos because he shows you how to properly use weapons in self-defense. Very important. Because if those white boys and girls or whatever had damaged their property or shot one of them, hey, do you really think they'd have did any time in the 1950s? Segregation was terrible, okay? It made a way for the black man and woman and child to be set up as victims, as criminals. Boom. But her grandfather, believed in self-defense. He got his gun. Now, the grandfather also told a story, all right, that he went through a tree that had fallen on the road while he was driving. Let me tell you what happened to me, and this is not a joke. And this is not fiction. This actually happened to me, what I'm about to tell you. I was 35 years old, and this brother was pulling me across the street. He wanted to take me out to lunch, and I didn't want to go, and it was just a mess. But in any event, he pulled me out into the street. A car came and hit me just like that. I went up in the air. Yes, I did. I went up above the car. That's how hard I was hit. As I started to descend, I saw the passengers' faces in the car. It was a white couple. Their faces were like this. They, but first of all, time stood still. In my mind, I was coming down very, very, very slowly. I felt nothing. I saw their faces and I didn't talk, but I wanted to let them know, look, I'm cool. I'm all right. Because I could see they were absolutely distressed. I hit the ground finally. And then time became normal. So the couple jumped out of the car. I think the police were called, the ambulance called. And I was like, I couldn't speak now. But I was like, I'm all right. But I couldn't say I was all right. But you know what my last thought was prior to me hitting the ground, the street? I said, oh, I've been hit by a car. I think I'm okay. I have to be okay because what will my children do without me? That's when I hit the ground. This is a true story. Okay? Now, they put me in the ambulance and I was like, look, I'm fine. I really am fine. Took me to the hospital, all like that. Doctor came in, examined me. I was like, okay, you can examine me. But I knew I was okay. People, what I'm saying to you, and once again, this is not fiction. I would not tell you a fictional story. This happened to me. I was hit frontally by a car. I went up in the air, slowly came down, and my thought was, if I am hurt, what will happen to my children? Hit the ground, and I knew I was all right. So the doctors, they were like, well, they couldn't find anything wrong with me. I shouldn't tell you what I'm about to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So they said, well, are you in pain? I lied. Yes, I'm in pain. Why? Because I wanted some painkillers. Yes, because painkillers are fun when you're not in pain. That's a disgrace. But what can I tell you? I'm not saying that you should follow my lead and take painkillers. But during that time, I was 35 years old. I had a husband that was sick. He'd been in Vietnam. I had children. I had my children and other people's children who they had thrown out into the street. Dig. I wanted to have some pain pills. But that is a true story. Now, when I look back on it, how in the world did I hit the ground and not be hurt? How could I have been hit by a car, go up in the air, and not be hurt? Brothers and sisters, angels are here. Assata's granddad went through that tree, or he might have been lifted up or moved around the tree by an unseen force that are on this earth with us for whatever reason. An angel helped me to sustain that pressure of a car. They either moved me away, it either looked like I was hit. I don't know. I really can't say, even after all these years, but this is what I can tell you truthfully. I was hit by a car, went up in the air, hit the ground, and nothing was wrong with me. In fact, did I take off from work? I think I did. Because, when my boss found out that, I had been hit by a car, of course I had a few days off. That was fabulous. Lord have mercy. Because I was working all kinds of jobs and going to school and being a mother. It was a mess. But life is often messy. Always remember that. So, brothers and sisters, I'm about to sign off. Let me show you again my new book. Is selling on Amazon. Please go get it. Please purchase my work, right? Let's see what else I want to show you. Also, once you get my work, I can't, oh, there it is. Once you get my work, let me see if I can find my website for you. Write a review right on Amazon. And if you want more information about my other books, go to www.apanthersister.com. I'm not playing. I know that my mission on earth is to make sure that you know about the heroes of your tradition. Okay, your Black nationalist heroes that stood up for you historically and contemporarily. Well, brothers and sisters, I'm about to sign off. I will see you again this coming Thursday. And as always, do share these videos. And always remember that I pray for you every night and every day. And make sure you be figuring out what you could do good for yourself and what you could do good for Black people. That's what it's about. That's why we were sent to earth in these bodies. Okay, I said enough. I'm signing off now. And I'll see you on Thursday. And do share these videos. Peace now. Bye.